Hey everybody, it's Dan, and I have a respiratory infection, so I'm not feeling the greatest here, but I'm going to keep going with this, and I'm just going to record a few videos ahead of time for the next couple of days. So I hate to ruin the Hollywood illusion of my page here, but the previous videos were all just filmed on the same day with me changing my shirt in between. Yeah, so made it look as though there wasn't actually 6 films being made on the same day, and instead I had to change of clothes and there were different days going on. Well, I'm not going to bother with that this time around. I'm going to record a few of them just wearing the same stuff here, just back to back, because I'm going to need a few days to rest and chill out, and I won't be able to get to do a lot of these. So I'm not gonna play the whole changing my shirt thing. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Also, another amazing Hollywood special effect that I've got going on here. I'm not wearing any pants. That's right, but you can't tell, right? Yeah, because all you see is this. So yeah, no pants, doesn't matter. How are you gonna know unless I tell you? And maybe I shouldn't have said anything. Anyway, so our next video in this series that we are exploring is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors. Now this is the film where it all really just kind of started to go downhill. It really ended up turning Freddy Krueger from just a nightmarish, horrific dream demon that would destroy everything and just kill everyone to what was essentially a cartoon character. And although surprisingly enough, it being an 80s series and all, there was not a cartoon made based on this film series. There was a television series that lasted, believe it or not, 44 episodes called Freddy's Nightmares. It boggles me how it lasted that long, but I'm not going to be covering any of those. I'm only going to be covering the actual films, okay? So this one, The Dream Warriors. In this one, Kristen, played by Patricia Arquette, who surprisingly enough was actually attractive once a long time ago. Yeah, she starts having a nightmare where she walks into a house and Freddy attacks her. She wakes up to go to the bathroom. Freddy attacks her again. And she ends up, freaking out, having all these bad dreams. She ends up going to a mental institution where there's a bunch of other people who are in there, and they just kind of, try to deal with dreams and helping to get people sleep. Well, it turns out that all of these people are actually the offspring of the parents who had killed Freddy Krueger in the past before he became a dream demon. And he's slowly but surely trying to kill them all. And regardless of wherever this takes place, it's not actually on Elm Street, and it's not actually in Springwood. It's just nameless, well, I shouldn't say nameless, but placeless, clinic where they live to try to overcome their problems with their nightmares and everything. And there's a couple other characters. Philip, I believe his name was, likes making puppets, marionettes, and everything. So of course there isn't one fairly good scene where in his dream, Freddy, rips open his arms and his legs and pulls out all of his veins and is, controlling him like a puppet using his veins. Of course, in the real world, you don't see the veins or anything like that. You just see him walking around like this. And he ends up going up to the top of the building and jumping off while everybody sees him. And they freak out and, blame Freddy. Well, my personal favorite character in the film, by the way, his name is Kincaid. He's, big dude, tough from the streets, and in his dreams he has like all of the just super, physical strength. He's really tough. So that was kind of cool. He's a fun character, and he's like, always freaking out about stuff, and then, just busting through walls and everything. He's cool. He's fun. But, so anyway, in the movie, it turns out that Nancy Thompson from the first movie is some sort of, sleep therapist now. And she comes in to try to talk with all these kids and try to coordinate them into, being able to share their dream with each other and, fight back against Freddy. And Freddy, really, this is the first major film where he starts to do all of his, ridiculous quips, that just stupid puns and things like that. I mean, it's ridiculous. So awful. And to make it even worse, it's a shame because Wes Craven, while he didn't direct the film, he wrote the script for this film. He brought Nancy back. The original actress was back. And, just everything was ruined, starting with this movie, and then they just get worse as you go on. It's terrible. There's another character whose name I can't remember, but he plays what's basically D&D. And he's, stuck in a wheelchair. And in his dreams, he can walk, and he's a wizard, and he can do all these things. But, that lasts for all of 10 seconds, practically before Freddy kills him. There's like one scene. And that's the other thing. Once they get Patricia Arquette's character to use her ability to, gather everybody up in the dream and, all use their abilities and gang up against Freddy and everything. All the people who are left get like one scene to show off all of these, nifty abilities or whatever that they have before they just get offed, like instantly. It's like, okay, you're coming up with all of these abilities, you're coming up with this, good idea, a great concept for the film, where all of these kids, when they're in the dream world, have their own special, unique dream abilities, much like Freddy Krueger does. You're taking that concept and just wasting it because you use each character for one scene and then kill them off immediately. There's some girl who, she was a heroin addict or whatever, and she's in there for, recovering from that as well. And she has, some knives, and she looks all punk rockery in the dream. It's so stupid. It's not even actually any sort of, power or anything. She's just, she says in her dreams, she's beautiful and bad. Well, you got one right. But beautiful? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. Not even for the time was she what anybody could be considered, what anybody could possibly consider beautiful. And of course she gets, a bunch of injections from Freddy, and she dies of a heroin overdose in her dream, which is kind of weird. But anyway, so Kristen, Patricia Arquette's character, manages to get everybody together into this dream to all try to fight Freddy. And by the end, it's just her and Nancy and Kincaid and a kid named Joey, who's a mute. But, so in his dreams, naturally, he can scream and, you know, elicit a loud screaming sound and, shatter everything and, harm Freddy with his voice. Just kind of neat too. In the end, though, Nancy ends up getting offed by Freddy, and the day is saved by um, the other three, Kincaid, Patricia Arquette, and Joey, who end up defeating him in the dream. Meanwhile, one of the other guys from the ward, one of the doctors, is going out to try and retrieve Freddy's bones and give them a burial in, the real world. And of course, he has to go to Nancy's father, the former, I guess, sheriff of the town, and have him tell him where he hid the bones, and goes out and retrieves them. And eventually manages, after, being attacked by the bones and all that stuff, manages to bury the body, and that basically, eliminates Freddy as a threat. However, that was the end of the film, basically, was eliminating Freddy not only in the real world but also in the dream world. But of course, there's another film, several other films in this series that just keep going for no reason whatsoever after this point. I mean, it's just, the next film is basically just, highlighting the fact that this didn't work. That's it. But the next film is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. So we'll get on that tomorrow.